This is Elitom El-Amin, Breatharian. And today this is part 8 of 8 of Breatharian Sex Talk. And today we're going to talk about a term that's used that many people know now, and if you don't, you get caught up on it, and it's called the Annunaki. This is a term used in some spiritual scriptures of ancient times, but they're also related to sometimes the fallen angels, or sometimes they're related to the beginnings of humanity in certain stories. And the story we're going to talk about is the story of Adapa. Adapa is a Babylonian myth. The scrolls was found during that time period, but this also gave the Bible its story, and it also finds its roots in Egypt. And it also finds its roots in a lot of Judaism scriptures from ancient times, dealing with the term Adapa, and that's where they got the word Adam from. So is this take about the same character? It has great similarities, so we can basically say, yeah. But at the same time, when you look at these ancient stories, they're written in symbology. And a lot of people, they try to go into this, dealing with the ancient aliens and stuff, and sometimes they try to go too concrete with it, and it's not like that at all. That's why when you start dealing on the higher levels of scriptures, the higher forces talk in symbology. And when you learn the symbolic language, it's written in symbology so it can give you an idea of how the spiritual realm or the unseen forces is operating, you understand. And that story will stay the same. Now, our ancestors knew at the same time that these stories was going to pass through many hands, and the uninitiated or the ignorant, they were going out to put the stories in their favor for their culture and their people. But when you write it in symbology, the symbology of the stories or the mysticism will last the test of time. And then those children or those people who have the knowledge on how to extract the truth or to translate the symbology and bring it back into its true story. So all cultures basically had the same stories, and what we're going to do is put them all together, because in India, when you deal with celibacy, they use a term called brahmachari or brahmacharya, and that's the ultimate path. This is a path that's not for everybody. In the West, they use the term celibacy, but in my sexual energy series, it's more than just that, not just having sex. You are on a path of energy cultivation, growing your energy. And when you grow your energy, you are raising your vibration or your frequency of the physical vehicle. And therefore, that will get you in touch with more of, in tune with, the higher frequency forces that all of us have access to. But the density of the average human being due to diet, habit, belief system, all these things that's covering them is keeping them at a low state of consciousness. Now, the ancients also talked about physical immortality. But now, we at least are in an age where we learn biological immortality. We have figured out that we are in a realm of cause and effect. Every cause have an effect, and every effect have a cause. So in this age of preventable diseases, a lot of them don't have to exist, and we can relate it hands down from a habitual lifestyle of a mindset. And when a person can eradicate or turn that mindset around, it will bring forth flourishing health, what the ancients call a blessing, what the ancients call moving closer to divinity or moving closer to God. However, you can become one so much with that frequency and that lifestyle that you don't even need to die, because all organs mostly on the body regenerate themselves. You're a whole new being all the time. Every 5 days you got a new stomach. Every 30 days you got new skin. I could go on and on and on. So when you're in a healthy cycle of a new lifestyle of not damaging yourself, these new cells will start bringing forth other new cells that's at a better state from the last lifestyle we was at. Now this is basic one-on-one, but you got to catch this. That's why this ain't for everybody. Now, when we deal with aliens, that's just something that comes from off planet, so don't be scared about it. But do that exist? Well, as we're going to break down the symbology, the aliens work on an energetic spiritual level. That's why some of the ancients call them spirits, demons. Now we're going into thoughts, low-level thoughts, higher-level thoughts. No matter what term you using, at the end of the day, we're still dealing with something dramatic, fantastic. And even when a person dies, when you shed off this physical body that was weaved from our mothers, because our bodies were born from here. Born from the mother, the matter. But the spirit that's in us, what we call our higher self, our God self, our light self, whatever term you want to use, that does not come from here. It's animating the physical body. So when we talk about the pranic journey, we're serious about it. Because the energy body that's in you don't need to eat, drink, sleep, don't need to have sex, don't care. But it has to what? Become the dominant force that's animating the physical body to where you come into the self-realization to know it. And you can achieve it when you're equipped with the right knowledge of learning not only how to raise your frequency of vibration, but how to maintain it over the long haul and keep transforming yourself. Whew. Now somebody not too long ago, because I usually call myself God Elitom El-Amin, and he said, you need to get out of your high mind about yourself. But I said, but that's the point. I'm in my high mind and I'm gonna stay in my high mind. See, because the way you think about yourself means everything on your evolution. It means everything on you waking up. And this particular person that I was talking to, I can understand why he said that, because he's known for having what you call a low self-esteem. That's a lot of work. That's the way you're thinking about yourself. And then you thinking others are thinking about you like that, and it downplays the frequency and vibration. So you should be able to gain more edge when you think highly about yourself. I just did an interview not too long ago, and they asked me, well, Elitom, how's your life going? Well, I said, I'm perfect. My life is perfect. Now, that's not arrogance. That's the truth. That's the way I think about myself, my situation and my life. And the energy will become the dominant energy when you're living this reality, because you are a creator. If anything, going back to the Annunaki, that's plural with the I on the end. And then how the scriptures say it, the sons of God saw the daughters of men and saw they were fair. Those are all symbologies again about people who did have the high state of consciousness, were aware that they were the creator, were aware that they were the aliens, animate these bodies, which we still are. But then they what? Started to marry the daughters of men. They started to downplay their sexual, their energy, dealing with the what? Misuse of sexual energy. This is where it boils down to. We're not saying don't have sex, but when you're on these paths and levels, you must understand it. Now, the age we in now, sex is something that everybody's using. You understand that? That's why we're here. And there's a lot of information on sex. There's no shortage of it, believe that. All the positions in the world, you could go look them up. So we ain't, and you're expected to know how to have sex. I don't care who you are. However, what's lacking is what's taking place when you're having sex. The end results when you keep going a certain way, a certain direction. What it does to the mind, the different glands, the body inside, and that's the education people haven't been getting. So therefore, even though you could be a nice person, good knowledge and stuff, if you don't understand those avenues of that type of energy, which is very, very powerful, and food and sex is the two hardest things on the spiritual path. And where I'm at right now, guess what? They're one and the same. That's why when a person starts going impotent, what do the doctors say? What are you eating? In other words, when you get your health together, look how they relate it. Your sexual energy comes back. See, sex is related to health. So a healthy body is a sexual body, and vice versa. There's no in between. So that's why in higher level knowledge, they say if it's whatever you eat, and if it's bad for your heart, it's going to ultimately be bad for the gonads. Because once your health start going down, your sexual energies start going down. Now listen at this, let's connect it all. And if your energy is going down, you are spiritually going down. You're spiritually stuck. We got to go there now. We're in another age. Spiritually stuck. You're in a cycle. Now you can break that cycle. That's why we're teaching this knowledge now. but we got to understand what it's about. So that's why we say the Breatharian path is a health journey. You are picking up more energy, which is an indication that your vibration, your frequency is rising. Now, the sex part of brahmacharya, this is extra credit. This is for the real hardcore seekers who understand that they're God, because God is both male and female. See, there's male and female in everything. All men have the what? Dormant qualities of the female within them, because I came from a female. I came right out of one. And all females have what? The dormant qualities of a male within them. And no matter if you look at a tree, no matter if you look at an insect, no matter if you look at a cat, the law of gender takes place on everything. Now, however, we're not trying to change the law, but you can transcend it or alter it, because we got that power. So now you're taking your sexual energy, instead of letting it come out through the physical body, now you're using it through meditation, which we call spiritual cultivation, to start using it. That's why they call it an orgasm. It comes from the organs to make it, so it's going back to the organs. It start replenishing itself, and then it start going up to the brain, replenishing the brain, because the brain requires the most energy in the body, hands down, the most calories. And if it don't get what it needs, you're going to have a bad day. So you're tapping into the energy reserves in your body, and you're going to start using them for brain power. That's why you become a genius, like I am. For brain power to wake up. And then the body won't see sickness. It won't even see death. This is some real stuff now. It's not a fantasy. It's just that before you didn't have the knowledge to totally, fully go there. Now, when you look at the scriptures, it's basically saying, and hey, before I get into this, you might say you're getting religious. No, I'm not. The elite on this planet believe this, because all of them is making big investments trying to achieve physical immortality. Laboratories, the best scientists, the best minds. There's no guarantee, and I guarantee you they'll be looking at my videos, studying it. They're looking at every last one of them. Now listen at it. They just don't want to change their ways. Now listen at it. Let's get deeper now. So when you get into the story of Adapa, you can look it up online. Adapa, who stopped the south winds. Listen at that story now. Now, the story of Adapa, he was a priest that was created by a being named Enki, and there's a being named Enki and Enlil who was from the Annunaki. Now, a lot of speakers and a lot of writers are saying those aliens who came from somewhere else, but I already said we're not denying that. But it's about what type of aliens you're talking about. Because what's happening is we don't want to give people credit. We did this. Now listen at this. By Enki and Enlil is two brothers, this is what they say, with two different characters. One cares about humanity, Enki, and Enlil don't like humanity. Don't that sound familiar? That's two aspects of your mind. God and Satan. Enki and Enlil. The higher frequency, the lower frequency. Two aspects of our being. So some people who have what? Preventable sicknesses and stuff, or who's sick and their life is going like chaotic, that means that the frequency of their mind that has is Enlil. Enki, on the other hand, he was the one taught Adapa. See, our higher self is our teacher. How to what? Better his health. Live another life of a priest. And a priest is just a person who obeys universal laws, because we're all under universal law. There is a thing called cause and effect. Before we just notice it, that's why they got a thing called physics. Everything you see is made from the laws of physics. You understand? And then we got that thing called metaphysics, which is the higher physical, but even science itself is going there now on the exploration of consciousness. That's the final frontier. We're expanding this thing now. So when you deal with the priest Enki, because all people ain't priests like that. They don't care about carrying out the daily duties. So when you read the story, one day he was carrying out his daily duties. He was out on a boat, and it says, listen at the symbology, a strong wind came and blew over the boat. And he stopped the wind for 7 days. Now, 7 days is an esoteric number, 7. You got the 7 churches, the 7 trumpets, the 7 candlesticks. You got the 7 major chakras of the body. 7 is a number of completion. So he stopped it for 7 days. Now, what did that mean? Your sexual energy is at the bottom of your hips. This is indicating that he knew sexual cultivation. Because the more you stay, what? Not spilling your seed or not giving up your fluids, the energy within the body gets stronger and stronger and start filling up the other chakra centers. Start adding to the other chakra centers. Oh man, this is getting good. And start going to the solar plexus. The 3rd day. Start going to the heart chakra. And your energy fields start getting more expanded. Because keep in mind what we said last time, sexual fluid, you could get a black light, put the light on it, and it glows. Now, a black light is a UV light. Look at where I'm standing. This is a giant UV light. Now, even though you can't see it, it is magnifying everybody's body, and we have an electromagnetic field. So a person who's now have the knowledge on bettering their sexual fluid, because your body's constantly making it, so you're watching what you put in your body, you're exercising, you're healthy. That means when your body start making the sexual fluid after that, the way it tastes, the way it smells, the way it looks, it is more healthier, stronger. And then when you don't get rid of none, it just don't sit there in one place. I just had to educate some men last night when they're talking about the sexual cultivation. The only thing they know is the nut sack and the penis. But I had to tell them about the Vans deferens and all these other words, where the tubes go. They didn't know all of that. So you really got to get deep in your study, because the physical body is a gateway. It is the gateway, the wormhole to the invisible powers. So this is for the seekers now. So if you want to upgrade this vehicle and go to the levels of physical immortality, you might say, well, I'm going to live forever. We could take it even further from now. You stay on this path, the body start lightening up even more. That's why we call it enlightenment. Leave those heavy foods alone. Lighten up and start saving that seed and see what happens. Now, if you're young and all that, don't worry about it. You want to raise family, you want to have kids. I just was talking to some woman who want to do all that. Well, me and you shouldn't really be talking right now. You know, get the information. Just make sure you cultivate it right. Now, she tried to point out to other people that the lifestyle they live in. Well, okay, you should be going talking to them. You shouldn't be talking to me again. You understand? Because I don't know nothing about that. See, I know from my experience, when I give up my seed, my energy change. That comes from trial and error. So right now, we don't want to play that game though, right now. Now, there's a real powerful force. It's more than just a physical sex. That's why you got to know what's happening. There's a chemical called oxytocin. And oxytocin is called the hugging chemical or the love chemical. Oh man, this is good, ain't it? And when you deal with this deals with relationships, sex, getting together, and it automatically takes place when we're engaged in that pleasure. So that chemical is being let loose. It's called the cuddling drug. And it's called that for a reason. It usually affects women differently than men. And for the most part, it does affect them. They do get the down edge on this because the woman usually has the baby inside. So it influences her mind to want to know that you care. You know, a man. Is he going to stick around and stuff like this? It's real deep now. But a lot of that's why a lot of them is more emotional. And I'm not saying it's picking on women, but I teach retreats all around the world. And I had this one retreat where all these women was crying. And this young man said to me, Elitom, do they cry a lot at your retreats? I said, yep. I can't lie about it. That's what happens. But a lot of that is dealing with these hormonal drugs that's in us that our body automatically let loose. So this oxytocin is a big one. Now, this is the good thing about this pleasure chemical. You can get the same oxytocin release from petting a dog. Even from touching somebody, you get it. Hugging somebody, you get it. So this what makes it good, too, on a journey. That's why they do talk about a phase of Tantra sex, when you start getting more into the touching instead of ejaculation, so that the energy, sexual energy, can rise. But it ain't so much of getting a hard on and stuff like that. It's about what? Getting that oxytocin release. So when you go into meditation of that pleasure and you're not harming the organs no more, where you have to release it through ejaculation, and then your organs got to work just as hard to build all that back up again. If you keep that pace and keep rising up the energy and transforming the blood, because like I said, it just don't stay in one place. It's going to absorb itself back into the blood. Woo! This is good, ain't it? Uh-oh. But anyway, I got another phase coming up here. Keep in tune. Now, as we go back into that story of Adapa, and that strong wind came, it also mentions it's a strong south wind. It came from the south. And when you read the scriptures, you keep reading things about the queen of the south and all of this stuff. Now, keep in mind that in esoteric symbolism, the top of your head is the North Pole, and your feet is going south. However, when we're dealing with the bipole or the polarity of our physical body dealing with the spinal cord, of course, our gonads is the queen of the south. So when the queen of the south blew a strong wind at them, and what that is saying that the energy, the sexual energy that's in that first chakra finally understood, or you trained it, that when it gets that horny feeling, not just meaning the hormones want to release, because you know that's what happens, and you get that horny feeling, you finally trained it to say, okay, I'm not going to masturbate, I'm not going to have sex to have that ejaculation, but I'm going to start training that energy to finally start going upwards. This is what I want you to do. I want the energy to go upwards. And why would we say the energy automatically go upwards? Energy represents heat. That's why you got a lot of heat in your hip area. And heat represents energy. That's no argument. You understand? So you can in the physical body, because this is a bio machine. That's why this is called the spiritual sciences. You are now going to start training that energy over a period of time to start moving itself upwards, and it will get used to that new habit because we're habitual creatures. Now, when we look at the good thing of, oh man, this is good. Going back to that oxytocin, which is very, very powerful. Now, sex, again, a person that's on the brahmachari path is not talking against it. Sex is very powerful. Hey there. Huh? Oh, I'm having a good time. Beautiful day. All right. I'm in wonderful India, and there's so many wonderful people around here. But then again, that's what kind of life you start living when I say my life is perfect and everything is perfect. On one level, I probably don't remember them. But then again, like they say, a stranger is just a friend you haven't met yet. Now, so going back into this, the strong southwest, the queen of the south, that's dealing with the feminine energy, the receptive force that's in our hip area. But Adapa, since he had the knowledge, he was able to stop the wind for 7 days. In other words, he was able to deal with the queen of the south, cultivate her, and dealing with the 7 chakras to get that energy rising upwards. Why? Because your brain is the location of a high state of consciousness. When you look at Revelation 22 in the scriptures, and it talks about the garden again, where God is sitting next to the Lamb, you understand? And the rivers, the 4 rivers. Now you got the 4 chambers in the brain, and your brain slits in a fluid. This is why you got to learn biology or what they're talking about. It's all dealing with the makeup of the physical body. And it says that the rivers that was coming from the throne of God, which is up here, was pure. So yes, when you eat something, it does affects the blood, affects the energy, depending on how much you eat, what you eat, a polluted body and all this other stuff. So you got to be crystal clear that you are actually doing a transformation to get back up into heaven, to get the rivers clear, to get the vibration high, so that you can deal with God himself, which is you, in your higher mind. You can stay in your high mind. Now, not only you got the chemical of oxytocin, you also got dopamine. Now listen at that word dopamine, and that word dope says it all, don't it? That right there, that shows you that food has the same effect as a drug, because dopamine is released all the time also for different things of addiction, pleasures, food. Oxytocin and dopamine is the 2 right there. So a lot of people who stuck in this habit or in these cycles, it isn't that you're weak or nothing. You are actually dealing with live chemical releases that's taking place in your body, and they feel good. They actually get you high. You got all the drugs in you. So a person that's a drug addict out on the world, they ain't going the wrong way. They just don't know how. Trying to always seek getting high. You should seek getting high. So that's what these spiritual paths is about once you start making these transitions. Like some people say, why you don't want to eat or why you don't want to have sex? It's a high. Because you're dealing with the same chemicals, but it's a new love that's taking place. But that's a whole nother level of degree. But first it starts out, you got to get that subtle forces to grow. Because when you deal with something subtly, it starts out subtle at first where you can't hardly feel it. But when you do it time and time again, the energy gets stronger and it starts becoming tangible. It starts becoming real. So dopamine is another big one. Oh man. And again, you will get a dopamine release and an oxytocin release. Listen how I'm going to say this. Just by eating a good tasty meal with somebody you love. See, that's not a bad thing. So again, when we teach the Breatharian knowledge, we're not saying having sex or eating is bad. It has good things about it, just as humanity abused it and don't understand what's taking place. So this is why we're bringing an understanding on something that you're already doing so you can resurrect yourself. And you can go to those levels that you can, don't eat the lower frequency vibrations no more, or don't need to have the sex through the lower frequency vibrations. Because I am going to do another video where I'm going to tell you what they mean by a full body orgasm. They got that all wrong. Big time. Because they didn't read it symbolically again. Everybody tried to read it straightforward. Oh, and the sperm goes up the man's spine just by his mind. When you look at the autonomy of the body, that's impossible. That's not what they're talking about. And I'm the only one that's saying this that's going to challenge it. Hands down. And everybody I've met who tried to, especially men who tried to say, I'm doing it, I'm looking at them. It's impossible. I'm looking at you. Your energy ain't even high like that. Go sit down. But this is what age we went through. The age of darkness where everything's getting revealed. So anyway, dopamine is released. Oxytocin is released. And it's also related to serotonin. Now, your hypothalamus, that's where the oxytocin is made. Now listen at that. That's like the antenna that's bringing in the cosmic energy in the body. And your hypothalamus automatically take that oxytocin and feed it also to the pituitary gland. All right? And the pituitary gland is the mother gland of the rest of the glands that command them on what it to do. So when you're not wasting it or having that sex act down here no more to ejaculate, of course that affects it a certain way. But when you get that climax, see, an orgasm deals with the climax. That's where all the organs and the blood start circulating faster, the heart start beating faster, and then the muscles, especially in that genital area, tightens up. Listen at this. So that orgasm takes place, and when the orgasm takes place, it's usually followed by an ejaculation. But however, then the body, now this is the key word, it relaxes. Now keep in mind that all meditations deal with first get relaxed. Because the more you relax the body, these energies that surround us automatically start coming through the body by their nature. So that's why meditation is the foundation, not only of the food-free journey, also for the brahmachari journey. There's no in-between because they're one and the same. Food is sex and sex is food. That's why some people see them. I seen this one girl break up from her boyfriend, and 2 weeks went by. I saw her. She doubled her weight. Why did she double her weight? Because the next thing she went into was the stimulation of food for the oxytocin, the dopamine, trying to forget. It was just like a drug. People do it all the time. Or they use the alcohol, or they use the straight up drugs or whatever. But that's what's taking place on humanity again. But once you know that all of this is taking place and you're living this lifestyle, let's go back into the story again of Adapa. So then, once he stopped the south wind for 7 days, it caught the attention of Anu. Now, Anu was the ancient name that they used for God. You understand? The ultimate father, Anu. That's where you get the word the Annunaki from. They're plural. They come from Anu, and Anu was like the figurehead. Listen at this. And then Leo and Enki, those two different aspects, also were the Annunaki. Keep that in mind. So all these different aspects is talking about you. It's talking about different frequencies or vibrations that we're carrying. But now Anu want to see him. That means your higher mind, because you did something, Adapa did something good. He was doing his priestly duties. And by doing his priestly duties, carrying them out like he always did, he stopped the south wind, or the queen of the south, as they say in the scriptures. And when he did that, when he stopped the queen of the south, or stopped the south gate, they say in esoteric terms, they all talk about the same time, that means that that gate was locked where it's not spilling out in the physical, because when you eat lower density foods and you having sex like that, it automatically puts your mind into duality in a physical state of being, automatically. So when you start coming up off of that and start allowing those energies to grow, it start leading you more into your higher mind. And then that's when I knew it got his attention. The higher frequency forces, you will catch their attention. They already exist, but they're not going to come into a vehicle that's not prepared for it. So Adapa, the first human being, basically what they're saying, that's why you hear about this fall of consciousness, he prepared himself to go see. And we could do it right now. That's why the garden wasn't locked or sealed. It still is there. You understand the pathway, but you just lost the knowledge how. Now we're bringing this knowledge back. So, oh man, this is good, ain't it? We're storytelling, but we're making it real, from myth to reality. So now he gets to see Anu, the Father, the great God, the power, which is here. He finally got to go up in his higher mind. And this is really something to get into your higher mind, get into your God realization. The reason why I say I'm God is not to play around. I had a God realization. That's what happened. I can't even stop it now. I know I created all this. But you need to have that experience. But again, let's go beyond that. Because no matter what nobody say, that's why it's called self-realization. That's why these different methods of what has to happen on raising your vibration. It didn't change, it's still the same. You still have the same Paleolithic bodies as your ancestors. Nothing different at all. So, in other words, now, this is what Enki told Adapa when he go in front of Anu. And a lot of people just confuse him. Why would Enki say that if Enki was the one who loved him? He said you can receive the robe, you can receive the oil, but no matter what, do not receive the food from heaven or the water from heaven, the food or drink from heaven. Listen at this. So when Enki goes up there, Adapa goes up there in front of Anu give him the robe. Now what is a robe? The robe is your body, your skin. See how my skin is glowing? It ain't used to always be like this, but I'm on this path. I was given a new robe. The energy changed. So when you get on this path, your indication is you will be given a new robe. You're going to change. You're going to look healthy. You're going to talk healthy. You're going to live healthy. And the oil, what does that represent? That's the internal fragrance, because in order for you to have this perfect reality, have life to be in your favor, that oil represents a vibration that's coming from the inside out. A lot of people is trying to make their life go on the outside in. How many cars, how big the house, how big the bank account. And they're still sad, committing suicide and all this other stuff. What's the problem? But when you get the oil, you see things differently. It's an anointing. And you have the protection of the higher forces. So he accepted those, but then he turned down the food from heaven and the drink from heaven. It specifically said that. The manna from heaven. Does that sound familiar? See, a breatharian or a personal prana, they are feeding, but are feeding from another energy source. Food, as you know it, is a dense energy source. Can you see that? You eat more and get nourished from more than other sources, just from my eyes. Look at that. My nose, my mouth, my skin is breathing. However, through meditation, you can strengthen the vehicle. And last but not least, the brahmachari, stopping the south wind, the south gate, the queen of the south, and allow her to grow upwards, will really make it go forward, and you will automatically be led in front of your higher mind. Only you hold you back, you got to get out the way. But it's ignorance. But now we're making sense of this. You ain't got to wait for no government, no physical green-eyed aliens, some reptilians. They just don't want you to know that was your ancestors that created all this. And you just fell and you stuck into it. See, we can see now. But everybody has to accept it now. We're here now, we're grounded. We are the alien forces that created this world through our thought. Now, let's go even deeper. So he turned down the food and the drink from heaven. So, and listen at this. Anu said that's a shame. Because now, since you're going back to the earth, because that's where I'm sending you, you turned down the food and the drink from heaven. So therefore, you just brought sickness and disease to humanity. You just brought forth death to humanity. See, all of humanity are immortal. Now, we say our soul is immortal, but you also could be immortal with these physical bodies, without a shadow of a doubt. But when you don't get to see Anu or turn down the promise that's given to you, which a lot of people do, because you don't want to go all the way with it. It's a shame that you're going to bring sickness and disease and death to your world, to your creation. And then your creation is what? Going to come to an end. Some creations or some universes who catch this is going to keep expanding, going to keep growing. We got to make sense of this now. So I hope you got something out of this. I covered a lot just now, and I don't want to make this video too long, but we're going to go over it more. I did do the 8 to 8 series, and I think I'm going to have to go a lot longer because I got a lot more to get off my chest. So this is the sex series. I hope you got something out of this. This is Elitom El-Amin. And again, I'm here in wonderful India. There's wonderful people here. If you ever get a chance to travel to this place, just come here. And all these other good places. The world is a beautiful place. Even when I went to America, I'm from Ohio, and when I went back there, I finally realized how beautiful of a place I grew up in. Wow, so your perception changed. You live on a beautiful world no matter where you at. And then I traveled all across the United States, and everywhere I went, everywhere was beautiful. I was even in this one neighborhood where the guy was saying, yeah, and this is the poor section of the neighborhood. And I told him, I said, I wouldn't even known that if you didn't say anything. I didn't know due to my perception. But that's you who said it. And it's like that everywhere. Even here in India, I was at a place by a beach. And this girl said, you from America? Well, why you staying here? Because I chose to stay at this one place for the price. And she said, but in her mind, this is the poor place. And I looked at her and said, how could this be the poor place? We're right here next to the beach. And you got all this going on for you. So it's a mindset again. Stop letting people downgrade the way you see things. It's all in your head. Life is beautiful every moment, but you really got to grasp that concept and really start living it. So this is Elitom El-Amin, checking out. Love you once again.